Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to my plush hotel room in Seattle, Washington. Final road trip of the year. The Rockies taking on the Mariners for 3. Mariners are on a roll. And then it's off to San Francisco to conclude the season against the San Francisco Giants. We'll get to baseball in a moment. Took a week off last week. I was working, but just didn't do the podcast last week. Catch my breath a little bit. Catch up on some college football in the NFL this week, and we'll move forward from there. First, as always, I want to thank my my sponsors on our little venture here, and that is Huntington Bank and Steel. Huntington Bank is literally in every community, and whether it's online banking or checking or for mortgages, car loans, you name it, they're going to take care of you, and they're going to do it with kindness, and they're going to also show you perhaps some opportunities that you didn't know existed. So go to huntingtonbank.com. As I said, they're in every corner now in our state, and they do a marvelous job. That's huntingtonbank.com. Also, the good folks at Steel. If you have any type of project around your property, you know the place to go is the orange. STIHL, steelusa.com. They have a tool for every season. They have multiple tools for every season and every project. So check them out. That's steelusa.com. Steeldealers.com will inform you as to where the nearest dealer is to your home. And I guarantee it's pretty close because there's more than 10,000 around the country. So again, big thanks to Huntington Bank and to Steel. All right, let's get rolling. Let's start in college football. University of Colorado gets a 37-20 win over Wyoming. Well done to Colorado. Wyoming, not the same program they've been in years past. I think, first off, on Wyoming, they've been hurt as much as any school in the country by where we currently are situated with this NIL and transfer portal world. They used to, really play with an edge, and they still do, and they were able to get talent that was overlooked. That's why they've put a number of guys in the NFL. It's been tough for them, I think, in the last couple of years. Now, having said that, from Colorado's perspective, it's a good, solid win, a team that they need to be, and quite honestly, need to be comfortably at home. And I know Deion Sanders after felt like they didn't finish the way they needed to. I will look at the positives, at least on this one. Caden Salter, who ends up back in the starting role, he acquitted himself exceptionally well. He threw 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the football over. He also rushed for more than 80 yards in the game. And he looked like that two-way threat that we saw initially. He was a great two-way threat at Liberty. And so for him, I thought it was a really nice step forward. And I think that's a guy that, not that they didn't rally around Staub before him. I think this guy, though, going forward is probably going to be the answer. Who knows if we'll see, Staub again, potentially. You have a guy that can get it done and also runs the 2-minute drill very, very well. But it was a good day for Salter. Overall, defensively, there's big question marks there, and they're going to get tested these next 3 weeks. They're playing 3 ranked teams. They're playing BYU at home. Then they go to TCU, and TCU is going to be loaded to bear for them. Both of those schools this week are in the top 25. I think BYU is 25, and TCU is 24, or vice versa. And then at home, they'll have Iowa State, who currently is 14th in the nation. So you're going to learn a lot about just how far Colorado has come through the first month of the season over the next 3 weeks. And, it's based on what they did against Houston, going to be tough. They gave up well over 400 yards against Houston, more than 200 yards on the ground. Are they able to keep up? I keep coming back to the same thing with college football teams that are in the middle, and Colorado's in the middle. They're not, we know this. They're not at the elite level or anywhere close to that. They're in the middle. And if you keep flipping a roster over by 50 players every year, I just don't see how that's sustainable, or certainly how that's going to lead to year in and year out big time success. the program, number one, is in a much better place than it was a few years ago. They were a joke a few years ago. So I'm happy about that. But overall, I don't know if they're going to be a 9-10 win football team, which everybody certainly dreams about. And if you listen to Coach Prime, that's what he dreams about. And well, he should. If you're a coach and you're just looking for mediocre, you're not worth your salt. But I don't know if they're much greater than mediocre after watching the first month of the season. But we shall see. You want to talk about a school that's got problems? First of all, before I go up to Fort Collins, I want to point this out. And I do every year. I love, 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 love college football. I love the pageantry. I love the energy. I feel like some of it has been taken away in this new age that we live because it's minor league football. That's what it is. Guys are getting paid. Have no issue with that. I have no issue with that. But I do have an issue with what has happened in that, one player plays here for a year and then he moves on to another school, and then it's a third school, sometimes even a fourth school. You go to a game and you're looking at a roster and you're saying, wait a second, what happened to this kid and what happened to that kid? And you talk to the person next to him and you're informed that one kid's now at Syracuse and another kid's now at Notre Dame, another kid, transferred to Texas Tech. It's hard to follow. The continuity is not the same. And because there's lack of continuity from an actual playing standpoint for a coaching staff, I mean, it's hard to shuffle in new bodies all the time. You may say, oh, yeah, this guy's better than the guy who we had a year ago at this spot. But if there's no cohesiveness, it doesn't mean that you're going to perform better as a unit, especially when you talk about an offensive line. You may say, we're better, and Colorado's talked about this, we're better up front talent-wise. That may be true. But if those 5 dudes haven't played together much, you're not as good as maybe 5 lesser guys that have played 22 games together, as opposed to, shaking hands and going, hey, where are you from? Where are you from? Good to meet you, that sort of thing. And the first time you get together is spring practice. So that's a huge deal. All right, now let me go up to Colorado State. They're a mess. And it's disappointing. I go way back with Colorado State to the late 80s when I started doing play-by-play. So I pull hard for them. I pull hard for the Buffs as well. And I really, really thought when they hired Jay Norvell that was a tremendous hire, because Jay Norvell is really well thought of. Jay Norvell at the University of Nevada was winning games with basically high school facilities. And I feel like I'm repeating myself now several times over the last few years. They haven't made any progress. Last year, and I talked about this 2 weeks ago, okay, you went to a bowl game, and what did they end up winning? 8 games in a terrible conference. I mean, the Mountain West Conference was way down for what they typically are a year ago. And so now you come into this, the Northern Colorado debacle. Then you have 2 weeks to get ready for a team that's probably better than you think, and that's UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio. But still, you're playing at home. They drew great again. You have this huge crowd and a beautiful facility in Canvas Stadium. And their offense is putrid. And they have a 3-year starter. I'm talking about there's no continuity in college football. Colorado State has a 3-year starter at quarterback. And his high watermark was still 2 years ago against the University of Colorado. And Jay Norvell is kind of hooked his future really to this young man. I don't want to beat up a college kid in Braden Fowler Nicolosi, but he's completing less than 53% of his passes. He has 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions so far this year. I mean, that ain't going to get it done anywhere. That's not going to get it done. They're going to make a change. And they're going to go to the Brousseau kid this week, who gave him a lift late, and then they went for 2 after tying up the game. They took the point off the board. And I'm with all of you, the CSU fan base. I saw that play, and you basically take out a quarterback who had been hot, and you put in a kid that they play that transfer from Akron, that they play a handful of snaps a game. And now you kind of put them in semi-cold, and you say, hey, win the game for us on a 2-point conversion. And the play that they had, is that the best you got? Because you immediately, from a defensive standpoint, you split the field in half. They only have to cover half the field all of a sudden from a yard and a half out. I mean, I say this all the time. In the NFL, from a 2-point conversion standpoint, college football, the same thing, especially if a game goes to overtime. You have to have, in the coach's vernacular, 3 dickum plays at least going into a college football game or an NFL game from the 2-yard line. 3 or 4 plays that you feel like, hey, it's going to create a situation where it's a layup to get those 2 yards. Schematically, misdirection wise, you can scheme up 3 or 4 plays that it's not a guarantee, but it's with a high degree of certainty that you should be able to create 2 yards. And if that was the best play you had, not good. Especially, I don't mind that they took the point off the board and said, hey, we're gonna try to win this football game right here in a game where you didn't play very well, especially offensively, until that kid came in and he gave him a little bit of spark, and it seemed to spark everybody else because they ran the football better for Colorado State. But going back to the overall picture, it's terrible. It hasn't gotten better. And the thing for me that I remember from the original press conference in Fort Collins when Jay Norvell took over, and as I said, I was really excited about it because I did some of his games at Nevada, and they had big receivers, which he talked about in his press conference. They had a talented quarterback. They played above their pay grade in terms of what you thought of their roster, and then especially coupled with all the facilities or lack thereof. It was really good. But he talked about throwing the ball around the lot. He talked about, as I said, big, tall, wide receivers and being a really entertaining offense. And they've been anything but that. I don't even know who they are. What is their identity offensively? They keep playing the same kid until this week coming up at quarterback who you've had for 3 years, and yet you clearly don't trust him because now you just run the football like they did last year. And they said, well, when we lost, the kid to the knee injury last year, but I still just don't get it. Last year, Torrey Horton goes down fairly early in the season, and all of a sudden they say, well, we can't throw it anymore. We're just going to run the football. Torrey Horton, who, by the way, is off to a fabulous start in Seattle. I don't know if you saw it this week. He returned a punt for a touchdown. He had another touchdown reception. They love him in Seattle, where I'm situated right now. You lose one guy, albeit a great player, and all of a sudden that changes your whole offensive philosophy. I thought you were going to have a multitude of wideouts that all can catch it and go up and catch 50-50 balls. Your philosophy from what you stated at your press conference and what you've done over the last few years is an absolute 180. And I still can't get my arms around that. I don't even know who they are offensively other than not very good. They don't move the ball. They're not sexy, and they're losing a fan base. I mean, I got on social media, which sometimes I'm loath to do, after that CSU game and really actually as it was unfolding. And people are pissed, and they ought to be pissed. They finally got the students back and the fans back, and they're filling up Canvas Stadium. And they always have these designs up in Fort Collins on, we want to be, in a Power 4 conference, right? And they're moving to the Pac-12. We don't know what the Pac-12 will be. The brand is great, or used to be great, but it's completely different than when it was Southern Cal and Oregon and Washington. Completely different, right? They want this, but you have to get it done on the football field, and they're not anywhere close. In the group of 5, they're a bottom 50% team in the group of 5, and it's really disappointing. So I hear and understand the pain of Colorado State fans, and I understand why they're calling for Jay Norvell. And as I said earlier, he hitched his wagon to BFN, and he didn't believe in BFN based on what they were doing offensively. And I understand some of that because, this is a kid that has never wowed other than that one game a couple of years ago at the University of Colorado. And again, I hate, beating up, a kid who's in college, but you know what? Those guys are getting paid now. And so the scrutiny is a little bit different perhaps than it was several years ago. So they have all kinds of issues going on up there. They have a game at home against Washington State. Washington State left over in the Pac-12. They're not very good, but I was surprised to see actually that they were favored in that game. Hopefully they can turn it around quickly, but they don't play an entertaining brand of football at all. All right, on to the Broncos. Broncos are 1-2. The Broncos coulda, woulda, shoulda, maybe, sort of, could very easily be 3-0. Keep in mind that one of the teams they lost to, the Colts, is 3-0 under the resurgent Daniel Jones. And I'm a Giant fan. I'm like, so Daniel Jones always worked his ass off and showed glimpses at times of being okay, but also showed a lot more time in New York where he was indecisive or was unsure who to throw it to, or when he was sure who to throw it to, it was too late and would turn the football over. He looks unbelievable with the Colts. They punted the football one time. So the Broncos have lost to some teams that we know are really good. The Chargers we know are really good. But they also had opportunities, which is a positive, to win those games. Bo Nix has a lot of ability. We maybe have been premature in anointing Bo Nix as one of the top quarterbacks in football, as some were led to believe after year one, and with some of the rhetoric surrounding him going into the season from his head coach, Sean Payton, who knows quarterbacks, had a great one in Drew Brees. You have to hit open receivers. You have to make a play when a play is there to be made. And you can't, when a guy's wide open, which is so unusual in the NFL, right? We always describe, college guys get wide open, right? Not in the NFL. NFL, if the DB's right here, you got to put the football right here. That's open in the NFL. When you have a guy running down the field on a vertical route where he has a true stride and a half, that ball has to be completed. And Bo Nix knows that. So Bo Nix has to be better. You make one of those plays, and the Broncos have music blaring in the locker room afterward, and they're 2-1. So now where they're situated, they're 1-2. 4 of their next 5, they're going to be favored in. I see them probably, because they're good. I really believe that. I think overall, in a tough league, I think they're pretty good. Do I think they're great? No, they're not great. But I think they can get to 5-3 at the quote-unquote semi-midpoint of the season. But Bo Nix has to be consistently better. And one of the other things that I think about coming out of this game is over the last 2 years, in one-score games, they're only 2-8. And usually in such scenarios, you point to quarterback, you point to head coach, and though it's not unfair, because that is a fact. Out of 10 football games in which came down to basically the end of the game, you are 2-8. Got to be better than that. Ought to be better than that with a really good head coach and this quarterback that you hope is climbing the ladder to becoming upper echelon. But, 1-2, again, it's really early, disappointing because that game was certainly winnable. The positive is against good teams, they're hanging in there. They have a lot of talent. I know at times they've been a little inconsistent defensively, but boy, they pressure the quarterback. They're going to continue to pressure the quarterback led by Nick Bonito. So, at the end of the day, there's no reason to panic with the Broncos, but there was some disappointment, especially with some of the misses by Bo Nix this week. All right, let's move back to the sport that I cover on a day-to-day basis, and that's baseball. The Rockies finished up their home portion of the season. Kudos to Kyle Freeland, who threw on Sunday, a victory. Kyle was really good. I want to talk for a moment about German Marquez, because in all likelihood, he's going to be somewhere else next year. In the middle of this season, really after missing 2 years with Tommy John surgery, he was the Rockies' best pitcher. For an 11-game stretch, he had a 3.5 ERA, and was really good. And then he had some bicep tendonitis, and when he came back, he was not very good. For 7 starts, the numbers were really ugly, and he wasn't striking guys out, and he wasn't nearly the same guy that he was earlier in the summer, or certainly who he was several years back. He knew, and he's an emotional guy. He's a guy I have great respect for because he's such a classy guy, and he's been one of the all-time best Rockies pitchers. But he knew probably that when he took them out on Saturday against the Angels, that it would be his final home start in a Rockies uniform with his impending free agency and the likelihood that he'll go somewhere else. He's still a young guy. He's only 30, but he threw the ball very well. He lost 7 innings, gave up only 2 runs. Both were solo home runs. The Rockies didn't score. They ended up losing 3-0 ultimately in that game. But I did want to mention Germán because he's been a great Rocky. He's a great teammate. He's a great young man. And I wish him, and I've always wished him, all the best. And if his career as a Rocky comes to a close, I think he'll be really well thought of historically by Rockies fans. You think back to 2018, he was the Rockies' best pitcher. He started that game 163 in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, the Rockies lost that game, but it was their best chance to ever win the division. And, he had a sub-4 ERA. A lot of great moments in a Rockies uniform for Germán. And I hope people recognize that moving forward. Again, Kyle Freeland was really good on Sunday. Good for Kyle to win his final home start. He'll be back. He signed his contract runs through next year, so Kyle will be back a year from now. We're not doing a postmortem yet on the season. Not yet. We still got a week to go, and then we'll see what the offseason brings. One of the other things that occurred on Saturday night was Mike Trout hitting his 400th career home run. And I'm glad that I got to witness it, because when I think of Mike Trout, I think of not only one of the greatest players of his generation, and there's more to come. He's battled a lot of injuries the last few years. He is 34 now. But if you look at his first 10, 11 years in the big leagues, that's a long period of time. He was not just the best player of that period, unquestionably. He was one of the greatest players in the history of the game. And you can match up his 10-year period, 11-year period, if you will, with any other player in history. In fact, by baseball reference WAR, as they say in the industry, his first 10, 11 years in baseball were eclipsed by one position player ever, Ted Williams. That's it. So that's just how good Mike Trout was. Remember, he had 49 stolen bases one year. It's not just great power numbers. It's also the fact that he hit for average. He was maybe the fastest guy in the game, was good defensively. So to watch Mike Trout, I never take it for granted. It's always disappointing when, athletes get hurt, but it's very unusual for a guy to play 15, 18 years and go, well, he never got hurt. He played every game. At some point, the body breaks down. Trout's played more this year than he has in the last 4, which has been good to see. He's also struggled more than he ever has. His strikeout rate is at a career high. The batting average is at a career low, but he is still Mike Trout. He still gets on base at a high rate because he walks so much. He can still hit the ball over the wall. And boy, did he ever for his 400th home run, 485 feet, one of the longest home runs of his career. It was a no-doubter. It was caught by a gentleman by the name of Alberto, and all he wanted after was to play catch with Mike Trout. I thought that was lovely. I thought it was wonderful. And Mike Trout is, really accommodating, down-to-earth, superstar. He went and had catch. I'm sure you saw the video already. And then he gave him a few autographed bats and baseballs. But I thought that was a really nice moment. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention Mike Trout hitting their 400th. And I've been fortunate enough to be in the booth when Ichiro got his 3,000th hit. That came at Coors Field. When Craig Biggio got his 3,000th hit against the Rockies down in Houston in the midst of a 5-for-5 day, appropriately enough. And when great players pass big numbers, I think we all celebrate. We all become fans of that individual, and that's I've always been a fan of Mike Trout, but to see him do it at Coors Field the other day, that was special. It's one of those ones where I forget a lot of stuff, man, but it's one of those ones that I'll keep up here and remember fondly. All right, time for our interview. Tanner Gordon has been the Rockies' best pitcher over the last month and a half. And when you start looking forward in terms of pitching staff, starting pitching, which the Rockies desperately need in 2026, Tanner Gordon's definitely going to be part of that mix. He is a guy that has great command. He's a guy over his last 7 starts, a sub-4 ERA, striking out basically a hitter per inning pitch, even though that's not his MO, as you'll hear during our interview. But really intriguing. And probably many people didn't know who Tanner Gordon was earlier in the year. But to his credit, he has really emerged here in the second half of the season. So I thought all of you would like to get to know him a little bit better. So this week's guest, right-handed starting pitcher for the Colorado Rockies, originally out of Indiana University, and that's Tanner Gordon. So we'll take you behind the curtain a little bit. This is 9 a.m. that we're taping this, Tanner, and I was just not teasing you. I was surprised, in the baseball world, because you're always working late at night and then you have to unwind. Most folks sleep in, but you like taking advantage of the morning, I guess, huh?
Yeah, no, there's definitely parts of the season where I like to sleep in, probably 10 or 11 o'clock. But now I don't know. I usually when I get home from the field, I just kind of lay in bed, get ready for bed, and start the night there. But no, like I said, I like to get up in the morning, get some coffee, get some good breakfast, walk around, especially when we're on the road. The cities we go to, I like to explore, go find a nice coffee shop. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do when we're on the road, actually.
Hey, you and I both. You and I
Yeah, I know.
both.
I always see you walking around there. You always break a sweat.
Yeah, I'm running less. The knees, my knees are a little older than your knees. I'll just leave
Right,
it at that.
right.
But
Yeah,
I think one of the great things about being in the game, obviously you have the pressures every day, and it is work for both of us, unique work.
hmm
But you're seeing great places, and we obviously stay in really nice places, and you're seeing great cities.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I try to take advantage of that. I try to go see the sights wherever we're at. Like I said, it's one of my favorite things to do is go find a coffee shop and try to find a different one if I can every day. Test the waters. I'm a big cold brew guy, so if they got a good cold brew, I'm all in.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
You live in downtown. From you know making your way, and it's talking about cities. Denver, I've always looked at. I don't live downtown, but I've always looked at as a really desirable place. And I know in talking to players from other teams over the years, they
hmm
like being in Denver, and so now you get to really walk to the ballpark. That's got to be pretty neat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I enjoy walking to the park, seeing people watching almost. Kind of walking when I walk to the stadium. I stayed in a lot of hotels down here. I stayed at the Rally. I stayed over at the Centric. So like I've been walking a ton to the field. Um, and yeah, just enjoying the environment that Denver brings, and the it's just a really cool. I don't know, it's just a really cool vibe, walking around. There's cars flying around. There's people screaming. It's kind of fun to take it all in.
Now, you're a Midwestern guy. You grew up in Champaign, and obviously you went to IU in Bloomington.
Yep.
So I've been on many occasions to both places. It's two of my sons played baseball in the Midwest, so I know it's a little flatter. Have you had an opportunity on an off day, or maybe even the first part of the day, to run up to the mountains?
I have not actually. I have not. That is one of the things. I have a good view of the mountains actually out of my window,
Yeah.
but that is one thing I really want to dive into more. Spring training, went on a few hikes. I went to like Tom's Thumb and went to I think it was Camelback, I think.
Sure.
But out here, I haven't been to the mountains out here, but yeah, you're right. It's a lot of cornfields back in Illinois. It's a lot slower pace actually. So
Yeah. It's pretty in its own right. It's a different kind of pretty.
right.
How does your 5-day cycle set up, if you will? Is there more stress the closer you get to a start? Is more required of the body? And take us through kind of your 5-day rotation.
Yeah, so like yesterday, the day after I start, I don't really do a lot. I do a ton of mobility. I don't throw. I try to just get as recovered as possible and try to let my body just kind of like do its thing. Um, right. And then after, as I get closer to the start, I'm still hitting the mobility. I'm still getting all my throwing in. I do the bullpen on the third day. Day before is another like lighter day for me just to stay prepared. But honestly, that start day, it doesn't really hit me until I get to the field, till I have that first pregame meal, and then after I'm done eating, and then it kind of all the butterflies start hitting me, which is normal for I would say for most players. Um, but yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've done that's helped is I make my heavy days heavy, meaning I'll have my start, and then right after I'll go in and hit a lift and just basically just empty the tank, so that way the next day I can come in and just, like I said, recover, and then just kind of rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I want to take you back. You had a really nice high school career in Champaign,
Hmm.
and you went to John Logan Junior
Yep.
College. Was that to get, bigger, stronger, get more velocity? Was that to save some money, from a collegiate, from
Hmm.
a university standpoint? What went into that process?
It's kind of all of the above. But being transparent, I wasn't the greatest student in high school. So the grades kind of held me back a little bit. But the other part too was like, I don't think I was physically ready to be a Division 1 baseball player. Like I was tall like I am now, but I was probably 180 pounds. I just wasn't built. I didn't fill in my frame. And I mean, I was throwing 85, 86, maybe topping out at 87. So I think for me, like I kind of knew like Division 1 wasn't really in the cards at the time. And I had a teammate that I played with in summer ball that he played for Johnny Logan and he loved it. So he got me hooked up with Coach Soup, and I took a visit there and I honestly loved it. Like the environment. It was still in Illinois, so I was pretty familiar with my surroundings. The environment was really cool. The players were awesome. For junior college, like the setup is pretty nice. We lived right across the street from the field, and the campus as well. So, um, but yeah, I think junior college helped me a ton. I think that was probably the best 2 years of my life, honestly. The teammates I met there, I still talk to a handful of them. I'm gonna see them right after the season ends, or the golf outing that we all go to. So super pumped up for that. But Coach Supernet, he did a really good job, developing guys. He has a ton of connections. And the way he's built the program is like, I mean, they got everything now. They got all turf, they got TrackMan, they got a huge wall in right field, they got locker rooms, they got everything now. And we didn't have any of that back then, but we had each other, we had the team, and that's kind of like all we needed. So,
Yeah, they've turned out a lot of guys. In fact, my middle played with a couple of guys that transferred from John Logan.
oh
So,
really?
yeah, you guys done a nice job there.
Yeah.
Now, I've asked you this, and if I've asked you this, I'm sure a lot of people have, because it's
Hmm.
it's a little unique. You grew up in the shadow, if you will, of University of Illinois, in
Right.
the Big Ten, and you go
Right.
to one of their bitter rivals in
Hmm.
IU. Did Illinois offer you coming out of Johnny Logan, or how'd you
No,
end up at IU?
well, so I talked to him a little bit. I'm actually good friends with the head coach there and his entire family. I talked to him a little bit. I was gonna go on a visit, but I decided not to. Um, Obviously, no bad blood against them, obviously, but it was just like I lived there my entire life, and I felt like if I went to school there, I don't think it would feel like the college experience that I wanted. So, um, yeah, I don't know. that was kind of the main reason why I didn't go there. I didn't. It's not like I didn't like the coach or the facility. Obviously, it'd be cool, playing at home, but I think I kind of wanted to escape and kind of do my own thing. So, I mean, obviously, once I took the visit to Indiana, I fell in love like instantly. So,
Yeah, that program, you and I have talked about this. That program has become like a sneaky, not good, but
hmm
great program. I mean, everywhere you
right.
look, there's big leaguers, and the biggest name obviously is Kyle Schwarber, but
hmm
there's a number of pitchers now like yourself in the big leagues.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we went to Arizona, I talked to Andrew Southrank. He was our Sunday starter. Me and him were super close. We got drafted like within 5 picks of each other. So I talked to him quite a bit, and his journey has been really cool. I got to pitch in the World Series, playoffs, all that. Timmy Herron, playing for the Guardians. Now, obviously, I got McCade here in the same locker room with me, so that's pretty cool. And we still reminisce on IU on the IU days during the games a little bit. So it's fun having those guys around.
Yeah, you probably don't know this, but we've shown quite a few shots of you guys, and I teasingly say they're inseparable, man. They got the secret handshake, and they always have to be together on the bench.
Yeah, no, no, no. It's always cool, having a college teammate. You share a special bond with those guys. You work so hard in college to try to get where we are now, and like I said, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. College baseball is a grind with the workouts and the practices and the travel and the homework and all that. So it's cool.
I always tell kids this that are aspiring to play in college because
hmm
if you ask a high school kid, "Do you love playing?" and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I love playing." Coach, love playing, right? And then I always tell them that you'll find out if you love it or if you really like it a lot. Because if you like it a lot, it's not going to work in college. You truly
Right.
got to love it.
Yeah, yeah, no, my trainer tells me that a lot. He told me that a lot, and he works with a bunch of high school kids too, and he tells them that too. He's like, you gotta love it because it's cool to get the gear and the bats and the gloves and all that stuff, but after your second week of 6 a.m. workouts every day, and then you're like, well, I don't know, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I mean, even when I got to Indiana, our conditioning in the summer, not even, the real deal. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this because I mean, at the junior college, it wasn't super structured. So like when I got to Indiana, everything was structured. We had a full plan, like everything was like to the T. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. But after a few weeks, you kind of get used to it, you get in better shape, and you're like, all right, this is honestly, it's kind of fun. Like honestly, I'm a guy that kind of enjoys the gym. I like going in there and getting a little meatheadish.
Yeah, but you got to honestly. I mean, you have
Right.
to enjoy everything about baseball. I always say is a process, especially
hmm
offensively. You're not going to get a hit every time. You're not going to get a hit. You're great if you get a hit, as we know, 3 out of 10 times, right?
Right.
But you better enjoy the process. And for you, like, I mean, we'll bounce around here for a second. I thought your last start was maybe better than the overall numbers or whatever, and I would think that you have to fall back on process of what you did and pitch execution, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean that was one of those outings where like it could have gone south. I could have just thrown in the towel and I could have said, well, there goes the outing. And I think honestly, a few months ago, maybe even last year, like that could have been like that could have been the downfall of that outing. But I think that's like I told the media, that's kind of the area where I've grown this year is like being able to, go through the failure and then asking myself, all right, what am I going to do now? Because I got to do something. I can't keep doing what I'm doing. So I think that was a really big outing for me in the sense of just like kind of being aware of what was going on and then kind of being able to shut it down early. Obviously I gave up, I don't know what, four runs, but I think I was able to end the game with 3 zeros, and I think getting to the sixth, and I think like out of a starter, I think that's kind of like all you can ask for is trying to help the team win, honestly, is kind of my goal. So
Yeah, I mean, Tanner, I think it was technically it was 4/3. There was an unearned run in there, so it was 6 innings
right.
and
Okay.
three earned runs, which is a quality start. And at
Hmm.
Coors Field, as you know, you live it.
Yeah.
If you give up 3 or 4 in 6 innings, especially at Coors Field, that's
Yeah.
a really good start.
Right.
I think you got to know him a little bit during spring training. I always look back at Pedro Estacio as one of the toughest guys who ever, pitched in a Rockies uniform. And you talk about selfless. He didn't. If he gave up 6 or 7, and the other team, and the Rockies were able to score 8, then he looked at it as, hey, that's a good outing because you just
Yeah.
outlast the other guy. Especially he was pitching pre-humidor, so
Right.
you got to have that
Right.
mindset, don't you?
Right. Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes you forget about it, you know? Sometimes you forget you're at elevation, sometimes you forget you're at course. And I don't let it, take over my mindset, what I do. Like don't get scared of it in a way, but I try to embrace it. And, honestly, I don't try to pitch a different game when I'm at course or when I'm in San Diego or whatever. I maybe change my sights a little bit, but the mindset doesn't change.
Yeah, with what you've accomplished over the last month and a half, is your confidence at a new level in terms of who you are as a big leaguer?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not bouncing off the walls and showing up everybody. That's really not like kind of the player I am. But I think internally, I think the confidence is definitely there, and I think that's honestly what's carrying me through this season. Like it's been really cool to learn and have success up here, have failure, and then bounce back and then have more success. Um, and I think that's kind of the same story for a lot of guys too. Obviously everyone here has the physical ability to play. I think it's kind of like that mindset, the confidence is kind of what sets people apart.
With this recent run of success for you, one of the things that I think has opened some people's eyes is your ability to get a punch out. I mean, you're averaging about a strikeout per inning pitched. I
Hmm.
think over the last, I'm not looking at numbers right now. Over the last 6 or 7, you've thrown out a couple of 9 strikeout performances. Has
Hmm.
that always been in there? I know collegiately you had that, but is that who you felt you could be at this level?
Um, Honestly, I don't really see myself as a strikeout guy. I think strikeouts just come as a product of what I try to do, and what I try to do is I just try to be on the attack at all times. I'm not a flamethrower by any means. I'll be low to mid 90s, but I feel like I can use my off speed to get them off the fastball, and then when I throw the fastball, then it seems a little bit harder. So I think like I said, I think the strikeouts are just a product of what my game plan is, and that is, you know, be on the attack, work in and out, work up and down, just try to keep everyone off balance, make the at bat as uncomfortable as possible. Um, yeah, I don't see myself as a true strikeout guy.
Again, for what it's worth, I look at you as a command guy,
Right.
and
Yeah.
whether you throw, you can be 94, 95,
Hmm.
touch at 6 when you need it, I'm sure. But even the guys that sit 98, 99, you got to
Hmm.
hit spots. I mean, every day, the other guys have figured it out how to get ready a little sooner than they did 10, 15 years ago. And if you're centered at 98, 99, 100, it gets turned around, man.
Oh
Command is
yeah.
huge.
Yeah, yeah, command is big. I'll go back to my trainer again. We trained location over velocity. Like I was in high school and we had a little ball on a tee and I was throwing bullpens trying to hit the ball, or I was trying to hit a cone off a bucket. Like I was always throwing at a target, not worrying how hard it was, just because he knew and I knew that like I said in high school, I wasn't filled into my body. So he knew the physical part of me was going to come at some point, and I would naturally just gain velo over the years. So I think that helped me a ton. Just kind of training, like I said, training that location over velocity earlier in my baseball career, just because obviously everyone gets a little bit bigger, everyone gets stronger, and I think the velo naturally comes. So.
Is it day to day with secondary stuff? For instance, you've shown a plus changeup at times. You have
Mhm.
a really good slider. Is that game to game, or do you feel like, okay, I've set this guy up? Here comes the changeup based on sequence?
Yeah, a lot of it's sequence. Some day, I mean, even my last start, some days my slider just went on vacation. I don't know what happened to it, but I kept throwing it. I didn't want to totally eliminate it, but um, yeah, it's kind of it's a feel thing, honestly. The changeup, though, I've been throwing it a long time. I play catch with it every single day. I almost long toss with it, and I think that's why the feel with the changeup is a little more consistent. Obviously, you play catch with a fastball too, so like I think the changeup has been helping me a ton, especially as of late. I think I've made a few tweaks within the bullpen and playing catch with it to where it's been definitely one of those strikeout pitches, you could call it. But I like throwing it. I feel comfortable throwing it in any count, honestly. But yeah, a lot of it's feel.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Like for young pitchers, if they were listening to this and listening to you, that it's important because it's a different grip. Whatever, however,
Hmm.
and every pitcher's slightly different. Some circle, some volt, whatever.
Right.
That you actually play catch, so you're comfortable throwing it with the same arm speed and hitting your partner in the chest, so to speak.
Right, right, and like I said, you play catch with the fastball every day, and everyone wonders like why the fastball never leaves you. But it's always like, oh, I can't throw my curveball, I can't throw my changeup. But it's like, well, how often do you play catch with it? Do you play catch with it once a week, and then like in your outing, and then and you expect it to be expect it to be really good, which sometimes it is just off, from luck. But no, I when I play catch, I try to throw to targets. Like if I play catch with someone, I'll say, hey, just put your glove in a random spot for these next like 10, 15 throws, and they'll throw it, put the glove up here, throw it here, down, like all over. So when I'm playing catch, I'm constantly throwing to a target. I'm not just playing catch to play catch.
Yeah,
I'm throwing to a target, which is what I'm going to be doing in my starts. So.
yeah. Is McCade now your throwing partner?
No, no, actually, I'm still playing catch with one of the bullpen catchers.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Good deal.
yeah.
I threw this out there just because I was trying to find a comp for you, and this is going to be, because you're still younger in terms of being a big league pitcher, and the guy I'm going
Right.
to throw out there, I hope you continue the way you've thrown and have the success that this guy is. But
Hmm.
I threw out just because this guy's been great. He's not overpowering. He hits spots. He's confident on the hill, and that's a guy who just left the division a couple months ago, and Merrill Kelly. Has
Merrill
anybody
Kelly.
ever
Okay.
thrown that one out there for you?
I don't think so. I've heard Austin Nola told me he reminds me, or I remind him a lot
Yeah.
of Michael Waka.
Okay.
Just the high arm slot, and he doesn't.
Mhm.
He's not gonna bump it up to 99, 100. He's around the zone. But Merrill Kelly, that's a good comp.
Yeah, it's all about results. Overall, this year is we know what the record is, and
Right.
when people ask me, and obviously I'm around you guys a lot, but I'm not in the
Hmm.
clubhouse. I don't
Yeah.
play. Um, I say this group is really close. This group every day shows up, and I don't mean that just in a gratuitous sense. I mean,
Hmm.
you guys seem to be, together despite the fact that, the wins have been, obviously far less frequent than everybody would like.
Right.
But how would you describe that clubhouse and the environment?
Honestly, like you said, we're a really close group of guys, I would say. Obviously, like you said, the season hasn't gone the way we wanted to, but I don't think walking into our clubhouse that you would be able to tell, right? I think we still celebrate the wins like we won the World Series, like the music's bumping, it's a really cool environment. The losses, we shake them off that night, and we come back in the clubhouse the next day, and it's a new day. So I think everyone does a really good job of kind of erasing it and starting fresh. Everyone's got the mentality of, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, and going to play another game. So everyone shows up to the field early. Everyone gets their work in. Everyone's always doing something. So it's cool to see that everyone's kind of on the same page in that sense.
Yeah. As you put a checklist together for the offseason and next year, what would be on it?
Ooh, it's a good one. Let's see. Honestly, it's hard to carry the same mindset I have now all the way through the off season and then pick it back up in spring training. But I'm gonna do my best to try to keep this confidence that I have, and kind of like internalize it. Whether that's just like once a week, I just watch all my strikeouts on my phone, or just um, something like that. I take a lot of notes in my. I have a little like journal after every outing, so I'd maybe just read those. But I think a lot of it's going to be like from a mental standpoint. Um, I think just being confident in myself and telling myself I am a big leaguer and I belong here. And I think that's a big hurdle that a lot of guys come in, a lot of rookies come in that they gotta get over. Sometimes you get up there and you're like, well, I had a bad game today. I don't know if I can even play up here. And then the next day you have a really good game, and it's like, all right, maybe I can play up here. And then it snowballs, and then you have few 4 or 5 good games in a row. Then you're like, all right, now I can kind of stick up here. So I think mentally I just got to stay strong over the off season, and then obviously physically I'll do my thing in the gym, stay strong in the gym, and probably get a little bit more mobile. I'd probably say I could probably hit the mobility a little more.
Yeah. Hey, before I let you fly, I want to pick up on something you just said. Do you have those conversations in terms of, raising each other up,
Hmm.
specifically with McCade, who's now here, with
Yeah.
Chase Dolander? I know Chase isn't going to throw anymore this year,
Yep.
a little bit of a knee tweak, but you guys are three young guys that have a lot of talent, and hopefully will be part of the core of a rotation moving forward. Are,
Hmm.
are, are those constant conversations?
Yeah. Actually, I talked to McCade after his outings. He'll just come up to me and say, "Hey, what do you got? Don't BS me. What do you got?" So I tell him straight up. I I just, I've got to be hard on him. He's my friend, he's my teammate, and I don't think he's going to get better any other way if I'm not telling him the truth, right? So I think those conversations are good. There's like you said, there's a lot of rookies on the team, and I think a lot of them have good conversations with each other. Obviously, I'm not going to go talk about hitting with Ryan Ritter or anything, but I could talk to him about the pitching side. I could talk to McCade about the pitching side. Me and Dolander bounce ideas off of each other. Me and Blaylock talk a ton. So I think those conversations are really good ones, just because you guys are in the same boat. You guys are doing the same thing, fighting for the same goal. So I think having those conversations is huge, and I think it's kind of what helps guys a ton. Helps me.
All right, man. So off-season bucket list, you gonna catch the Hoosiers in football?
I'm gonna do my best. I always try to go to Indiana during the off season. They got a really, really good golf course there, so I try to double it up. Maybe go get some golf and watch a game. But they're playing Illinois today, so that's another exciting game that I'm looking forward to.
Who's the
Um,
family root for, by the way?
I think they root for Illinois, but I try to get them to root for Indiana. It's like I paid tuition there. I'm gonna root for Indiana. I'm not rooting for Illinois.
There you
Like I
go.
don't have I don't have any Illinois gear. I got rid of it all, gave it to my brother. I got all cream and crimson, you
There
know.
you go.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'll let you enjoy your college football Saturday. I'll see you at
Yep.
the yard a little bit later. Go find another good coffee shop, man.
Will do. Will do.
All right, Tanner, I appreciate you. You can.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Well, Tanner Gordon will have no problem finding me a good coffee shop in Seattle. In fact, earlier today, when I was done working out and was walking to breakfast, I ran into Tanner, and he was out finding a good coffee shop. So, good man, and he's pitching really well. And as we chatted about, his confidence is at a high. That'll do it for this week's edition. Next week, it'll be post-baseball season, and we'll talk about a lot of things that need to change going forward for the Rockies. And of course, we'll be talking football because it is the autumn and we are in the midst of college football and the NFL. And we all love football. We'll do it again, as I said, in 7 days. Y'all take care. Be well. Talk to you soon.